Hello, I think I'm live and I have the green audio bouncy of glory, so yeah, should be good now. Uh, I am actually very happy to be sitting here and be alive and have my feet up. Uh, I got a wild hair today. Well, yes, indeed, Dr. Jones. Oh, one of these days, I'm gonna get to be on a panel with Becky Jones and do that to her when I'm moderating. um, sorry, Becky. You're gonna smack me next time you see me, aren't you? Oh, it's so it's been a long couple of it's been a long couple of weeks. I'm trying to figure out who everybody in the chat is, and the chat is in a weird place, so it's getting kind of cut off. Let me shrinky dink myself. Hey, there we go. I don't need to see me as much as I need to see the chat. Um, Emma Sferrazona? I think I know who that is. Yeah. Uh, it's going to be one of those nights. It really is. I have things I want to talk about, and I even have them up in front of me so that I can remind myself of how the things are supposed to go, which does not mean that they're going to go there. Because, yes, if that is our Emma, I would like to know how Brennan is doing, because we were all a little bit worried about him. So, and it was lovely to finally get to meet you in person at Fencon. So, ah, Don, I have bad news. I am not going to be able to make it up to the get together. I have got training. My boss pulled strings to get me into the training. So I can't duck out of the last day of it, which is what I would have to do in order to go up there. So this year is not going to happen. But I, well, it's not that you have internet, it's the transition time, because unless I take off with what right now is our only working vehicle, then I'm riding up with Jim, and to do that, I don't want to inconvenience him. He would be traveling during the better part of my workday, including the point where I'm in a training class and actually have to be like on video. Yay. Um, so what I may do if we can't make it work for me to get up there this year is to try and get together with you on a quiet time. I actually was thinking about that, and that's why I'm like, mm, because I could have technically hotspot and run my laptop because it charges off a USB-C while I'm in the car. So I may talk to Jim and see if that's not going to annoy him if I do that. I mean, heck, um, why not? So I'll have a conversation with Jim because I'll see him tomorrow, and we'll see if we can make it work. But yeah, through the um 27th through, yes, Jim is just remarkably patient, and I mean, um I have seen him lose his temper, and that was interesting. But most of the time, he's patient and understanding, and we might be able to work it out. My only concern is that I don't want to presume on his willingness to give me a ride up there. Um, so Dawn's up above Amarillo for a ways. Doug, it's about a 6 hour drive from here to where she's at. Um, so it's a good long drive, which is fine. And given that I'm going to be spending 3 hours in a meeting, I'm okay with this traveling and doing that at the same time. It's more that I need to run it by Jim and make sure it's okay with him. Um, because I don't know how much talking I'm going to have to do during this meeting. And that'll be the final day, so I'll have a pretty good idea about then of um, what I can and can't do. So, and I would really, really like to come up and meet Dawn in person and get to meet Dawn's mom. I, I may tell him you said that. Oh, right, and that's also an issue. But I think between here and Amarillo, which would be the crucial part of the internet connectivity, I should have cell phone signal. So, um, hi Julie, it was great to see you at FinCon. Um, I was not expecting everybody that was at FenCon to be at FenCon. It was like LibertyCon came to Texas for the weekend and it was awesome. Um, no, I had a blast. I exhausted myself. Um, and Becky says hi. Actually, several people say hi, but um, no, no, I understand there is no way, Dawn. And it's one of those things of I, Julie was hanging out with Sarah for most of the weekend. Um, but yeah, I keep thinking, this thing with the remote work is part of the perk of remote work is being able to do it from anywhere. And I did work. I went to FinCon, left here after my work day on Thursday, and then Friday morning, in the first hotel, which, by the way, totally related. I don't recommend Super 8 hotels at all. That was an experience. Yeah, you can hide behind Ian, Don, because that's usually where he's trying to be too. He's getting better about it. He's getting used to this whole thing of I need to be a working professional while I'm there. Um, but yeah, Thursday, uh, we got up there, and literally when I stopped to take a pee break on the way between home and Dallas, I was informed that my hotel room plans, we were supposed to crash with friends, that fell through. Um, so I was like, okay, I have to find a hotel. I'd like to stay close to the con hotel. I called the hotel where I had the booking for the weekend, and they couldn't add another day on. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna find a cheap crash pad. I mean, next time I will spend a little bit more for a somewhat less cheap crash pad because yeah, that was not fun. So yeah, and Jonna was trying to make the costume room into kind of a nice little refuge space. I only ever made it in there once, but that's me at a con. I'm flying from place to place talking. Um, so Mom, we'd find a comfy chair for you and you could hold court. Um, okay, there's a name I don't recognize. Winkle Reed, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's too funny though, because I had the cutest experience when I did my reading at FenCon. I didn't expect a big audience because two things. One, I don't usually get a big audience, and two, I have developed a technique at Fantasy about promoting that I will be doing giveaways at my reading. Well, the reading at FinCon, I only had one panel before it, and I didn't really have a chance to do like self promo. And oh, hi Mark, I'm glad you could join us. And how is Eep 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 doing? If I pronounced his name correctly. Um, that's a whole nother topic. But I completely lost what I was saying. But anyhow, yeah, hotel situation. I managed to work there, and then the rest of the weekend I was able to just let loose and go. So it was a good weekend. Oh yes, the reading and actually talking about online handles and pen names and con names, which aren't always the same as the real thing, and actually teacup humans as well. I had 5 people in my reading, which is a decent audience for an unknown at a con, and I knew 3 of them, and 2 of them that came in was a father-daughter duo, and so the girl about I don't know, probably 10, maybe 9 or 10, and her father introduced her to me as Bananas. That was her con name on her badge, was Bananas. So I'm having a conversation with them after the reading because she wanted to know how um, I learned how to be comfortable reading in front of an audience. So I was talking to her and I had referenced something and spoke to, yes, yes, it was Becky. And I was talking, calling her Bananas and teasing her that her con name was probably pretty funny to hear. I have no idea what her real name is, but she was cute. And that was a sweet little experience. Mom was talking earlier about sit you in a corner and give you a baby to hold. There's not a lot of babies at cons because, as Don referenced up there a little bit earlier, the nerds tend not to have progeny. They like them well enough, but generally speaking, I think that those of us that have large families didn't go to cons or don't go to cons um, for good and sufficient reasons, because I mean, when I had 4 smalls, going to a con would have been really, really expensive and painfully difficult to try and ride herd on that many um, children in one place at one time. So even if the con was within driving distance, so I could go every day, it still would have been a pain in the butt to take all the kids to it. Yes, yes, she did. And that was kind of awesome. And bravo for her. But also, the other thing is that she had 2 of them riding herd on the 4 of them. And that's not something I had when I had small children. Um, so when I was a kid, Emma, my parents, we went wilderness camping a lot. Um, and there were 3 of us, and one of us to this day doesn't do well without constant supervision. But yeah, and the other thing too is that with kids, we would get sent to spend the summers with my grandmother. That's how I spent so much time running around Oregon doing interesting things, was with my grandmother and grandfather, because I would go to their place for a few weeks. And one memorable summer, a 2 week planned trip turned into 6 weeks because stuff came up and my parents couldn't get back over to pick me up because it was I don't remember now, probably about a 4 hour drive from where we lived to where they lived. So not that I minded. I really loved spending time with my grandmother and my grandfather, and that was a fantastic summer. We traveled all over the place and did a lot of different things, but always camping, a lot of hiking, fishing. I learned how to mushroom hunt commercially that summer. So yeah, that was fantastic. I regret that I didn't really have that for my kids as much. But on the other hand, Johann had a fantastic time at the con this weekend, so that was uh, that was a good thing. It was really nice to be able to see him um, level up. This con was very much a leveling up for all of us, And the kid did an awesome job helping to run the North Texas Troublemakers booth. He had volunteered with the con, so he helped set up the audiovisual stuff for the con. And the one of the things that he got to do was he got to go out and jump start someone's vehicle. They came in and hollered that they needed a jump, and Johan knew that we had jumper cables in the car, and he went out and he took care of it, and was very proud of him. But I mean, just this was a level up con for like all of us, because the North Texas Troublemakers booth at this con, this was our first um big booth, and it really went well. I mean, um we got fantastic sales, but more than that, looking around the dealer room, we were a professional level booth. It looked it, and we pulled the traffic in accordingly, which I loved seeing. That was fantastic to see that we had a good flow through the booth, and people came and they committed commerce with us, and it was fantastic. Um, it's it was an exciting weekend just for that alone. Me, I wound up with I wound up working with I'm going to be working with Leota Wakal, and she is going to be helping me administer when I do anthologies. So this means that I can actually well, that's kind of the point, Emily. um So this means that I now have an author's minion, which amused Leota when I started calling her that. Um, and this means that I can manage to do more anthologies, because I was going to finish up with the hunting anthology, which is going to be that'll be out in a week, and I was going to wrangle the PTSD anthology, which I'm still soliciting stories for. I need more stories. Um, and then I was going to quit, because I can't do anthologies and my own writing and illustrations. And I'm getting a lot more commissions and requests for, thank you, Becky. I'm getting a lot of commissions and requests for illustrations, and even with Midjourney, which is a fantastic tool, but it doesn't necessarily, it makes things a little easier, a little faster, but it's definitely not still like, it's not magic. As much as I would love for it to be. It certainly seemed that way at first, but it is not magic. Midjourney still struggles with anatomy, and it doesn't always do exactly what I want it to do, because I I don't always know how to ask it things, I think. But with Leota's help, I can take on more anthologies. So I will probably be running three, max four anthologies a year. I'm not going to go crazy with them, but it does mean that I can continue to do some anthologies. So you are 20 years older than I am, Mom. Monday, after I got back from the con, I got on to my morning meeting for work, and I was actually hoarse enough I had to apologize and say, I'm sorry, I talked a lot this weekend, and is um my voice is going out. So, and my husband is 65 this year. No,
Next year,
next year,
April.
April. So, 64 and a half at the moment. But um the fact that I had someone sit down and pitch anthology ideas at me to wanting me to publish them and work with him on them was kind of like I never expected that to happen. I'm just like okay now. And then after I got home this week, I have been approached to help with illustrating a cookbook. Um, so it's gonna be a busy year to come. And I'm also trying not to overcommit, which is to get back to the actual like topics that I wanted to cover today. Um, because I do have issues with I'm really bad about taking on more than I should, and I need to learn when and how to say no. And also, I need to get a little bit better organized because I am chronically disorganized. It's been an all my life thing. And I look back now and I'm like, if I'd been more organized, I could have done more with my life, but I can't go backwards. So all I can do now is be like, okay, I'm here. What do I want to do going forward? Well, yes, but it's not always easy to say no. Oh no, Don, I'm so sorry. That sucks. I'm sorry that your mom's having to deal with that. It's never good when you lose a pet. They are part of the family, and it leaves a hole when they're not there anymore. Um, Sanford and I talk about what we'll do when we lose Trixie. And currently, the plan is that we don't want another puppy because you can leave a cat alone for a few days and they might be grumpy when you get back, but they'll be fine. You can't do that with a dog. But on the other hand, if we don't have her, that'll be a pretty big hole. So, yeah, yeah. Yet say no and make it stick is tough. I have trouble saying no because people come to me with these ideas and I'm like, "Oh, that would be really fun to do." And then I get into it and um I'm realizing that I have too many things on my plate and I keep trying to push things off the plate and somehow I wind up with more things on the plate. And this is I'm working on it. Yeah, it's a lot of work with a puppy, but then you get rewarded by having a very good dog. Similarly with children, too. I mean, you put a lot of work into kids, and at the end of it, you have good adults. So we just have longer lifespans than dogs. Um, yeah, exactly. The I can make it work. So, uh, right. No, if you adopt a dog, you get other people's problems often enough. I don't have an issue with adopting dogs, but I think that generally speaking, it's no less work to start out with a puppy and have a blank slate. So, um, garlic bread, we're not going to talk about how many portions of garlic bread I can eat. Dogs are good for kids on several reasons. Dogs are good training for kids on how to treat another creature. They're good for kids in that they have a salutary effect on the immune system. And just in general, dogs and kids go well together. Um, well, you would think that with an older dog, Becky, but that's not always true. We have had older dogs that were adopted and or rescue dogs that had potty training issues. And it's actually more difficult to potty train an older dog than it is a puppy dog. So, and yeah, and that's the thing with dogs is that you have to kind of have an idea of what you're getting into. And I've actually had training in how to train dogs because I was an apprentice shepherdess at one point. So, it's you have to really understand the dog, you have to understand the breed, and you have to understand dog psychology if you're going to get the best results out of them. And it requires years of consistent work. Most dogs don't have a short puppyhood. Some dogs will be puppies well until they're 3 years old. So, and yeah, that sounds like a bad experience there. Unfortunately, that's right. That sounds like you might want to get involved with a professional if you ever do a puppy and have both you and the puppy trained at the same time, going through a training program together. So the bobcat would definitely eat the chickens, Kermit. Some dogs will also eat the chickens, but that's a whole nother. Right, exactly why I was saying that if you ever decide you want to do it, you want to have you both you and the dog go through class together, so you're learning together. Um, I would love a Maine Coon cat, but I have discovered that I'm more allergic to long-haired cats than I am to short-haired cats. So a long hair is not a good idea for me. But yeah, the disorganization thing is something that I'm working on. And today that took the form of I'm going to organize the house more because I don't know about anyone else, but I have discovered over the last several moves um, that when we move into a house, there's a point where you want to be like, okay, this goes into this room, and this goes into that room, and that goes into that room. But then there's always that stuff that doesn't fall into an easy category, so you shove it somewhere so it's out of sight. And um, months later, 5 months later to be exact, you're looking at it going, I can't find the magazines for the pistols. I can't find the magazines for the pistols. Or I can't find this or that or the other thing. Or I'm sick of looking at all the bare walls. I want to hang up my art. So today was a slow and steady march through several of the rooms in the house, pulling everything out, reorganizing, putting things in logical places, forcing my husband to be involved in the process so that he has some ownership of the house and it's not always my house that he feels like he's intruding on. Um, so that was a whole thing today. And in the course of it, we also talked about how we're going to handle the rest of the house because the utility room and the garage are basically just stuff got dumped and we can't find stuff like the magazines, or there's boxes of books out there that I need to put up bookshelves and put the books on. So little bits at a time. And today was all inside stuff because it is still hot enough here in Texas that working in the garage other than early in the morning is not a good idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. When you're looking for dogs, you want to kind of research the different kinds of breeds and um yikes. Yeah, you want to research the breeds and figure out what you're trying to do with the dog and then figure out which breed slots into that best because working dogs are happiest working. Livestock guardian dogs like Great Pyrenees are very large, very sheddy. They are working dogs, but they're bred to be much more chill than, say, a border collie because they're intended to be in with the um, the herd. So they're bred to stay with the herd and kind of just chill. Um, but yes, I it would be nice to have more pets. Oh, ha! Those of you that saw my post on Facebook earlier about the live stream is the image that I used there, because Facebook's algorithms, if I put up that I'm going to do a live stream and don't put an image with it, then I'll get like 3 people will see it. Um, so what I did was I put up the image that my sister had asked me a while back to do, um, wee little sourdough beasties, because that's her pet. She's allergic to cats and travels too much to have a dog. So what she keeps instead of any kind of other pet is she has a sourdough starter, because both she and her husband need to use the sourdough starter to eat bread comfortably. The fermentation process breaks down some of the gluten so that they can digest the bread. So they make sourdough bread when they're making bread, and sourdough lots of other things too, I think. So she was joking around with me about Midjourney because she was enjoying seeing what I'm creating and wanted to know what Midjourney would make of sourdough. So I did a couple of images of little sourdough beasties, and they're cute. And Mom, if you haven't seen it, I will put it someplace where you can see it because I think you'll enjoy it. But and the reason I don't have currently a working sourdough starter is because it's a pet, and I'm having enough trouble keeping my plants in my garden alive. Well, some of that's just Texas, and I'm not used to the whole long, hot, dry. It rained once at the beginning of the month. So, yes, Huskies are roaming. So Huskies are definitely a working dog and happiest when they have places to go and things to do. Yes, tasty, and I get the fat fingers. I do that too all the time. Yes, sourdough is tasty. My sister actually sent me a dried start from her sourdough, and her sourdough's name is Nugget, by the way, and or as short for Gold Nugget, and mine is Lil Nugget, but I haven't started it yet. I have to rehydrate it and start it. And I should do that, but it's gonna have to be uh I'm gonna have to set timers and alarms to remind me to feed and care for the little sourdough pet. But part of the concept of getting the house organized is that that actually helps me function better, and I can be a little bit more consistent with getting things done, um and I'm not as frazzled feeling when the house is in order, and making Sanford get involved in the organization process will help him, because he frequently will tell me I don't know where whatever thing is. So it's it's a good thing to get him involved so he knows where the stuff is, and um then he knows where to put things. Um and that helps me, because then he'll help me. If he's confident about what he's doing, he's not feeling like I'm going to be mad at him if he doesn't do something right. So yes, I have a lot of bookshelves, Emma. Unfortunately, I have even more books. And I had gotten rid of a bunch of bookshelves when we moved here from Ohio. I got rid of, I think it was 4 of the cheap IKEA bookshelves or Walmart bookshelves, because I didn't think they would survive the move. Um, they they got wobbly, So I got rid of those and figured I'd get more down here. And the closest IKEA is 2 hours away. Plus, I have the spot to do a built-in bookshelf. I just need to buy the lumber to do the built-in bookshelf. And I keep thinking I want to do it really nice, but at this point I'm almost thinking I may just put it
Concrete
up.
blocks and pieces of plywood.
Honest to God, I have thought about that. Maybe not concrete blocks, but like paving bricks or something. Um, I don't know. Probably not go that bad, but I may get like shelf brackets or something. So, oh, Kermit, that's bad. Besides, I know in your family's Differs is the one that puts the shelves up. Um, I would like to have all of my books out of boxes because then I could organize the library and be able to find my reference books. Because right now, I can't. Which will lead inevitably to my owning more than one copy of something. I don't know what, but I will wind up owning more than one copy. I have I have a lot of books, but it's not a bad thing. So, yes, the I don't have a problem with livestock guardian dogs, just we don't have space, and honestly I really think the best bet for us is not to get another puppy because I would like to be able to travel, even if I have to drag Sanford kicking and screaming. Um, and if I can work in the car, then I'm going to make Sanford drive. So I don't know how a chinchilla is. I know they're super soft, but I have no idea what their personality or care requires. So I don't know if I know anybody that has a chinchilla. So yeah, acreage would be lovely. It wasn't an option for us when we moved this time, and I'm still thinking about trying to pick up some acreage not in town that we can get to, that we could use either for hunting or I could plant fruit trees on. Although in this area, that's likely to fail, based just on I won't be able to water them enough. Um, so, well, I mean, I think now is probably the time for you to get a dog because you still have littles, so you're not going to be doing too much in the way of big trips for a while, or at least, well, I see now differs. That's exactly what I want to find. Only, I don't know if I want to do it in New Mexico. It's an awfully long trip for a hunting trip, although it would be a good excuse to come hang out with y'all. Um, yeah, Dawn would be a good person. She's a really good dog trainer. I know this just based on watching Bert grow up. I'm aware that Moose is not representative, Dawn, but you have done good with him from what I've been told by Jim and Ian and company. But yeah, the idea behind spending the day cleaning house, well, first of all, it needed to be done because this last week, between the con and recovery from the con, it needed to be done. And secondly, I now know where all my tablecloths are. I also know that none of my tablecloths fit my current dining room table, which means I'm gonna have to get rid of them and replace them, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm I used tablecloths a lot when the kids were younger. Um and it's okay. We all understand typing with babies. I think even those of us that don't have children understand typing around babies or typing with a cat interfering and helping. Um Yeah, tablecloths is going to be a whole other thing, but that was disappointing today because I thought I had some big tablecloths, but I have the table that we're currently using is really big. With both of the leaves in it, it will easily sit 10 people, four to each side and two on the end. Um, and I don't have a tablecloth that'll cover it. When the kids were young, I used tablecloths a lot because it was easy to gather a tablecloth up, throw it in the wash, and not spend 20 minutes scrubbing God knows what off the table. Um, and now I'm like, I don't know. Mostly I'm feeding adults, so I'm not sure a tablecloth is more helpful than just a quick wipe down. But that's an irrelevant thing. Most of my tablecloths are acquisitions at the thrift store, so I can just take the ones I have and send them back to the thrift store. Ooh, four kitchens. Nice. Oh, what am I saying? I have enough trouble finding stuff in one kitchen. Well, that I do want. The walk-in fridge and freezer would be awesome. That would take up like half my garage. Um, yeah, I like tablecloths because they're a quick and easy way to make the meal feel nice and also to clean up. But I don't have curtains up. I hung a curtain up behind me today because the sun comes right in through that window. Um, and Kermit, the deal is if you write a best-selling novel and it goes all kinds of New York Times bestseller lists and that kind of thing, then you buy her that house. It's the same odds as buying lottery tickets. That would be one way to do it. I do have a at least one table runner that would work. Right now we have two dining tables, and I'm going to probably, I don't know if I'm going to get rid of one of them or if I'm just going to move it out to the garage and or the outside living area. It's not really an outside table, so I think it would look funny out there. But I could put it in the garage and use it as a work table in the garage. Uh right, yeah, we'll do a Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter. There you go. Um no, you have to do your own thing. Not everybody can be uh Emma, I have been there. The house that Sanford and I lived in when I first moved to Ohio to be with him was a one bedroom house that I think was about 750 square feet. And it was, the kitchen was tiny. So we didn't really have a dining table. We had a table that tucked up kind of half under the counter next to the window, and the two of us could sit at it. But I didn't put tablecloths on it because it was also my primary workspace in the kitchen. And it wasn't until we were bought the house that we had a dining room, and the we never used it. I had a table in there and the kids used it for crafting, but I didn't um yeah, that sounds a lot like the little house that we had in Ohio. Um but when we had the dining room in Ohio, in the big house, the kids used it for crafts, but that was about it. We never ate in there. We had a huge kitchen, so we had a kitchen table and that's where we ate. And here, there is, if I use the kitchen here the way it's meant to be used, I would have a breakfast nook at one end and have a little table down there. But instead, what I have is a baking nook where my Hoosier cabinet lives, and we eat in the dining room all the time. So, but I'm going to. leave the big table in there, take out the smaller table, and invest in a nice folding plastic table. So when we do have a big group here, we can set that up and do two tables, but will overflow into the living area. And much to my husband's bemusement, he was sitting out on the front porch, and because he's mostly deaf, he can't hear what I'm doing in the house. So he's out there. When he came back in, I had completely rearranged the living room. All of the chairs, well, no, I left one where it had originally been. Everything else got moved. But I have a plan. Yes, the kids' table, exactly, Ben. At Jim's house, when we do Saturday dinners at Jim's house, he now has two dining tables because his dining table won't seat it'll only seat like 8 people. So there's a folding table and with 4 or 5 people can sit at, and it tends to wind up being the ladies because there aren't really kids at this meal. So the women will go sit at that table and then the men will wind up at the big table. uh, so we have the ladies table and sometimes the conversation gets a little rowdy and the men are glad they're not with us. um I will be buying a fold out couch, a couch with a pull out bed. Um, because I would like to be able to have a crash pad for emergencies. Not like it's because it's not going to be, it's going to be in the living room and it's not going to be super comfortable because pull out couch. But if we have someone in town that needs a spot to sack out for the night or two, then I want to be able to accommodate that. Or if my kids all come up to visit me, I've got spots for them to sack out for the night. So I'm gonna get. That's why um, I will have to look into that, Dawn. I was planning on buying one used, but I would be interested in an inflatable bed. Yes, I have a an air mattress, but I never quite trust them not to go down in the middle of the night. So, and they get holes in them so easily. Or maybe I'm thinking old school, I don't know. Um well, the one I was looking at, Becky, the I've seen pictures of the mattress and there's no stains. The owner says that they've never used it, so and looking at the mattress, can believe it. Um, but yeah, I might look into that too, because that would be better. I do need to get a couch in here though, because I need more seating space. And the love seat that we got, the dog prefers to sleep in. Ooh, that sounds promising, Dawn. I definitely have to look into that because um we don't we have a narrow living room. You can't sleep in a beanbag, differs. Um and we have a narrow living room, so I can't do a sectional couch or one that has parts that stick out into the room. Um well, maybe you can, but I can't. I am too old and crotchety. Mom, I don't like the folding foam futons. We've had a couple of them. I bought them for the kids when they were living in the little house, and they were super uncomfortable. Um, Maybe you had better ones than I did because I did not like the ones that we had for the kids. They didn't look fantastic and they were not comfortable to sleep on or sit on for that matter. So I have thought about the every wall in the house covered with books, but I also have art, as you do, which I have been hanging up, which is kind of nice. I ran around today with a hammer and finding nails and got that really sucks. I don't think I'd want anyone to sleep on the couch for that long. A night or two is one thing, but no, not years. Um, yes, I have the folding. Oh, that's what you're talking about, Mom. Yes, I still do have that, and that would work fine for a kid. I'm not sure about an adult sleeping on it for very long. Johann slept on it when he was renovating the house and told me that he was kind of hanging off the end of it. Um, um, but that's a thought too. I mean, I could pick up a couple of those and they can get unfolded in flat places so people could crash on them. But the right, it's a bit small, and so we'll see. I mean, this is one of those things of I've known since we got here that I was probably going to wind up with a couch. Um, I left behind one in Ohio because it was incredibly ugly and it actually had a really comfortable fold out bed, but it was old and so like early 1980s. So the it was heavy and we just decided not to haul it with us. Right, Becky, that's where I'm at. It was we have the love seat. The love seat is both low and the dog likes to sleep on it. So I don't want to get rid of the love seat and get another couch. And the not spending too much money on furniture while we have a cat that likes to sharpen her claws still stands. But that sounds like a plan, Doug. But we're gonna work it out one way or the other. This is just me cleaning house and organizing and realizing that I need this, that, and the other thing. Because when you go from one house to the other, the things don't work the same. Like I have two blanket chests. We needed them for storage in Ohio because Ohio didn't have a lot of built in storage. This house has tons of built in storage. So I have actually completely emptied both of those blanket chests. One of them, um, that is a good thing. I will think about that. I'm going to have to figure that out. One of the trundle beds under like the regular bed differs or something else. So, hi Evan. Um, I have a linen closet now, so I took the one of the blanket the chests. Oh, I'm not getting rid of them, and yes, probably one of them will turn into Johann's hope chest. One of the chests had art wrapped in tablecloths, which was why I now have all my tablecloths. And I pulled all the art out, and the tablecloths went into the hutch where they belong. I don't have a wall for a Murphy bed, Becky, but that's not a bad idea. And so I now have two empty chests in the living room, which if I wind up, right, and that's not a bad idea either. I'd have to make the boy I'd have to do that in the boy's room, which would mean getting him a different bed frame because his current bed frame um, won't allow for something to go under it because it's got legs halfway down. Yeah, Murphy beds, I don't have a wall where I could build a Murphy bed into. They're really neat idea. And if you have a teeny tiny little apartment, they're brilliant, but I don't think that they're going to work for us here. I had thought about making the office in this house into the office slash guest room, but it isn't feasible. Um, Not with me having my the big setup that I do and the treadmill, which I really need. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that you can get beds that are convertible beds that can be done in different ways, and it's pretty cool. We had a couple of things like that when the kids were younger. We had a day bed that with a trundle, which is what Dawn just suggested for the living room, and I had thought about that. I may have to look and see what I can find. Uh, it's a matter of what I can find as much as anything else up here because I'm not I'm not really willing to go out and spend lots of money on new furniture because, well, I mean, oh, I wound up not doing the treadmill as a desk because the treadmill that I bought I can't dismount from the handles and upright stand. What I can do is my work laptop is small, so I can actually set it on the treadmill. There's a shelf, and I can actually set my work laptop, open it up, and set it on there and walk and read like documentation or training materials. I can't type and do it at the same time, but there's enough of my job that requires me to read through things and to do comparisons between things. So I'm able to do that. And I can also, when I'm on my break, I can just hop up on there and walk and listen to music for a little bit. Um, yeah, no, all of our ceilings in this house have ceiling fans, and this is Texas and we need them. So I didn't quite do the treadmill desk, but what I did do is going to work for me. And down the road, I might do. Donna had suggested there are like treadmill pads that go under the desk, and that would certainly minimize my footprint here in the office. But for the time being, I moved my desk. So now my desk is in the middle of the room, as you can tell, because my backdrop's now the built in bookshelf. And the treadmill is actually next to the wall where my desk used to be. And that's a good place for it. It's out of the way and it's easy for me to just hop over and get on it. Yeah, that's actually one of the other things I've thought about, Evan, is the under desk cycles. It's basically just a set of pedals and you can sit at your desk and work that. Um, and those are definitely a thing that you can pick up as well. I use a footstool under my desk because my legs are short and my desk and chair are tall, so I need the footstool to keep my legs in a proper ergonomic position because I found that I was having issues since I do a 9 hour day. So I'm sitting at the desk for basically 9 hours every day. Um, I was having issues with my feet getting really swollen sitting there for that long and my circulation getting a little cut off because my legs don't hit the floor. So, ha, second house next door. Well, I mean, to one side of us, they seem pretty established. The other side of us is a rental house. And judging by the condition of the outside, I don't know that I would want to buy that house, even if it went up for sale, because um, and the house right across the street from us is 2 story and with a big extension out the back, and I think they have a pool out behind that. So we have a big shed in our backyard. We have room for all the things. Um, Cedar Dream House Library. Honestly, this house we have 1,600 square feet, plus a two-car garage, plus a very large shed, and Mom, that is Sanford and I have actually talked about that. I don't think that the renter that's there now would burn it down, but if it ever comes up for sale, we would seriously consider buying it, but just because it would give us a little more space. Um, but the where we have now, we should have enough space. It's just a matter of getting it organized, which I'm working on. Um, yeah, Becky, what I've been doing that's working really well for me right now, and this gets into the self-discipline thing, is I'm doing sprints on Discord. Yeah, Don, that's probably a really good idea. And if you are at a place where you can sit and put your feet a little bit elevated, I think you'll find that that's helpful. I don't know if you can, so um, but I've been doing sprints on Discord. There's an automated bot, um, and if I'm pretty sure you were in book club with Spikes, the Churning Words channel was intended for sprints, and it's also used for accountability and just some general writing discussion goes on in there. But the sprint bot is handy because um, the it gives you a timer, so it's a little 15-minute timer, and then you can put in your word count. So if you're writing with a group, you can kind of do an informal competition. I really just do it as far as myself. I will be like, okay, I managed to get this many words in this 15-minute chunk. Could I do better in the next one? And that kind of gives me a little mental milestone to kind of compete against myself. And then you you can um, use that. I find it really handy. It's basically the Pomodoro method. Um, to take a break in between your 15-minute sprints, do something else, get up and move is a good idea. And I find that when I do that, I get more written than when I'm not using a timer of some kind. And this week, I have been really pushing myself back into the habit of writing. I'm also pushing myself to get all the illustrations done for the hunting anthology. Um, the hunting anthology, all of the stories are in a document, and I have sent that to Leota, who's doing the minion stuff for me, for her to take a look at it and tell me if she thinks I've got the stories in a good order, that was so that it flows as far as um, I like to have certain stories that work really well for anchor stories, stories to open it out and give a good pace, stories in the middle to keep you going and pull you through. And this anthology, I'm going to end with a really heartwarming story that is about generational. So passing on the love of hunting to the next generation, to babies, and taking a baby hunting and a newborn sling, which is just kind of awesome because I would have done that. Um, so it was made me really happy to read this one. But so when I get some feedback from that in the next day or two, I will be sending out the hunting anthology to authors to take a look at real quick at their story, not the whole thing, um, and then get back to me with any changes so that I can implement those, format, and upload. And my plan is to have it completely uploaded a week from yesterday. So I want to have it all done and uploaded by Thursday of this coming week, which means I'm going to be really, really busy this next week again. Although I'm on top of it, it's mostly at this point going to be a chunk of work to finish up with the illustrations. Fencon, I got behind with the illustrations. So I'll get it. I mean, I did good progress yesterday. I got 3 done yesterday during Jim and Ian's live stream because you can't see me on camera on their live stream. And what I'm doing is I'm sitting there at the other end of the table drawing while they're talking and then putting in my 2 cents from time to time. As I've told them, my initial intent was to go hang out at the blanket fort on Thursdays because it gets me away from the house. And I was just going to sit there quietly, draw, and be part of the peanut gallery, like across the room from the blanket fort. But they have decided that I'm gonna be there at the table and chime in. And now Jim's announcing that it'll be the three of us. So I'm like, I guess I'm part of this. Well, I mean, it's a different thing. The live stream there is, and I need to actually like do some current events stuff because oh my gosh, I didn't realize you didn't know. So it's on old NFO. So it's Jim's channel, and it's called Live from the Blanket Fort. And it's Jim and Ian, and on Thursdays it's me, evidently, and sometimes special guests. And yeah, it's a blast. Watching Ian lose control of his mental squirrels is always hilarious. And it's sometimes they rant on different things, but it's usually funny rants. And there's always talk about food. And I think Tuesday we're scheduled to have Ian go in depth into hot sauce. Yes, Central Time. Um, because the blanket fort is 4 blocks away from my house. So, yes, Central. It is Central. Tuesdays at noon Central, Thursdays at 3 Central. So, and they take about an hour. Um, and no, definitely well worth the listen. Very funny. Sometimes Courtney is there. Right. Well, you can always come back and watch later, but it is more fun if you can be in the chat taking part in the live stream. Um, so I know, Mark, I used to listen to them through headphones while they were doing live. And not as much fun as taking part in the lives in the chats, but um it's still a blast. So differs, does that mean that there's now mud? Oh my gosh, I have run way over today. I didn't even realize what time it was. I wasn't looking at the time. I think I sort of covered some of my topics. Regaining control of one's life, nope. That's I can't help you with that. I'm working towards that myself. But well, everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Yeah, no, I'll see you all next week. Right, right. It's the week after that that's iffy. It depends on if I'm gonna go hang out with Dawn in person. I probably won't do a live stream, but we'll see. See y'all later. Thank you for coming and listening.